You've hit on a couple of times that there are things that are further than just increasing profits. Can you expand on that? What does that look like?
This is actually one of my favorite topics, the difference in building value and building profit in a company. Shameless plug, I actually have a blog series we wrote on this. I believe it's a 6-part blog series on the difference in building profit and building value in a company, because they're not always synonymous or mutually exclusive. So there's several things you can do in a company that would increase the profits but not increase the value, or would negatively affect the value. And it's good to know what those are so you can be prepared for them. So one of the major things we see is customer concentration issues. There's several service-based customers and clients we've seen that they build their business around a larger client of theirs that may make up 60 or 70% of their revenue, which is great for profits because it's lower administrative cost, it's lower operational cost to execute. You're probably working on larger projects. The downside is there's a lot of inherent risk with that client possibly leaving. Mm-hmm. So a buyer looks at that as, well, you have a lot of your eggs in one basket. So what happens if after you, Mr. Seller or Miss Seller, leave, that relationship leaves with you, and then that 60 to 70, 50, 30% of the revenue leaves too. So customer concentration can sneak up on you and will definitely increase the bottom line in most cases, but it will massively affect the value of your company. Mm-hmm. Another big item we see is the owner's role. So if the owner has a very active role in the company in management, in execution, and actually delivering products and services, we now have to replace that owner with the buyer after they exit. I always like to say the value of a company is derived by the size of the hole that the owner leaves when they exit. So if you're the end-all be-all in your company, everything must go in and through you, every decision, that's going to leave a very large hole, especially with technical knowledge. How much technical knowledge remains in the company after the owner exits? Mm-hmm. Is there a license qualifier that can qualify the business? Is there an operations manager that you can raise up to CEO? As an owner, you should always be grooming talent and looking for talent of people who can make you unemployed. I think as a business owner, your main job is to make yourself unemployed and try to raise people up around you so that you can go find new endeavors to pursue, whether that be business development, marketing, lead generation. Your greatest capacity as a leader in the company is as a visionary. Mm-hmm. You should not be the one executing all the tasks and servicing all the clients. It should be your goal to no longer do that, grow your company in a way that you're lifting people up around you to do that and to serve those clients and living out their expressing themselves in their work through their expertise and passions. And by doing so, you're going to build a company that's going to far exceed the value of the competitors you're selling against. Mm-hmm. So it's good to take in consideration. Other things that are simple that can increase profits but then decrease value is having too many family members work in a company. Because if they're overpaid for the role they do, they may not transfer with the company once it sells because a new owner may not want to pay them those salaries. Or if they do not transfer with the company after it sells and they decide to leave, you have to now hire more roles, replace more roles, so there's more risk associated with that. There's other complications like multiple locations, multiple services not on the same vertical, trade and barter relationships. We start to see more of that now. Like, oh yeah, I provide this service for, this guy over here and he lets me, rent this facility for that in trade. That's not going to convey with the business. So you need to get those ironed out before you sell.
I think it's helpful in this situation when you're trying to determine if something increases profits but decreases value is to put yourself in a buyer's shoes. Or look at yourself like you're buying a different business. If the owner is involved and has these, relationships, these barter and trade relationships, would you buy that? It doesn't make any sense for you to buy that. So why would you expect someone else to buy your business like that? And I think it's helpful if you kind of put on a different lens. It's hard as a business owner to do that, but to put on a different lens and see it with an outside perspective. And if you can't do that on your own, have a business mentor, business partner, a close, someone who knows the business and can speak truth into that without bias and say, hey, no, I think this is probably not the most wise decision for your business if you plan to sell one day.
Absolutely. And that's a mistake we see often is sellers aren't putting themselves in the buyer's perspective and the buyer's shoes. So they're trying to, again, make a plan based on how they see the business. And then when they go to exit and the buyer doesn't see it their way, they just don't understand.
Right. It's hard. I mean, it's very hard to do.
Right.
But so we just talked about things that are maybe increase profits, or I would say even really in the sense that they decrease expenses, but decrease value as well. What are some things that might increase profits and increase value?
So these are simple but not easy. The first thing I would say is trying to replace the owner's role. Mm-hmm. That is the most important thing you can do in the company is have what we call a non-owner operator, or you can also say integrator, that's a common term, who can basically run the company in the owner's absence. That is probably the most profitable and value-driving decision you can make as a business owner. Building a solid team, building the foundation of your company and SOPs and procedures, having a really solid hiring plan, onboarding and training plan, basically structuring and building your company with a foundation that is documented and written, maybe if that's through technology, using project management, using places to store your SOPs, so that all of the knowledge and information in the company does not live in the heads of the team members, but lives in documents and in software, and in writing, so that, or video too. You use tools like Loom. We use that often to train and build SOPs. There's products like Tango you can use to record SOPs on screen capture and then make that into a PDF document and distribute it to your team. Those will give a buyer a sense of peace when buying a company because they know how much detail the owners put in the company. They know there's probably that detail extends to other areas.
Mm-hmm. And the way that increases profits too is efficiency. You're streamlining things. You're spending less time communicating, less time explaining things, less time training because you have a system. And me as the operations manager, I'm big on this. And so I see how if we have something that's done differently by every person, it's confusing for us. It's confusing for the clients. If someone were to come in and buy a team that is everybody's doing their own thing, I mean, that's just not attractive. But also the more we streamline the way we do things and have unity in that is incredibly helpful for our efficiency. And so we're spending less time on things, therefore spending more time on things that make money.
Exactly. We are kind of fortunate that we get to work with so many very successful companies. We get to steal what works and we get to make note of what doesn't and apply that to our own company. And I feel like we're able to get a lot accomplished with our team because we have these in place. We have recorded SOPs that live in documents. We have screen capture videos and PDFs that outline how to do processes. We use project management software so that we can assign tasks and there's clear communication. And doing all of these things will increase your profits, but also increase the likelihood a buyer want to buy your company. Even things as simple as using QuickBooks for your financials and not using hand ledgers, which we still in 2023, we had one this year. Someone brought in ledger books, so that's still happening.